On a freshly paved road, a group of workers is standing near the curb as a large road grader passes by. Suddenly, one of the grader's massive tires explodes with tremendous force, sending a shockwave and debris flying. The workers are knocked off their feet by the blast. This highlights the hidden dangers of high-pressure tires on heavy machinery. A catastrophic tire failure can be as violent as a bomb. The lesson is the critical importance of regular tire inspection and maintenance to prevent overpressurization or damage that could lead to a deadly blowout. In a narrow alleyway next to a construction site, pedestrians and workers move about. High above, a large blue panel is improperly secured to the scaffolding. Without warning, the panel detaches and plummets to the ground, narrowly missing several people before striking a worker. This incident is a stark reminder of the dangers of unsecured overhead materials. All items at height must be securely fastened, and exclusion zones should be established below to prevent anyone from entering a potential drop zone. At a high-rise construction site, a crane is lifting a load. A worker on the ground, standing directly under the operation, gets his clothing snagged by the rigging as the load ascends. He is hoisted dozens of feet into the air before losing his grip and falling. This tragic event underscores multiple safety failures. Workers should never be positioned under a suspended load, and proper rigging procedures must ensure no loose equipment or clothing can become entangled. Furthermore, this demonstrates the absolute necessity for fall protection equipment when working at height. At a loading dock, two men are attempting to close the rear doors of a large shipping container. As they struggle with the latches, the truck, which is not properly secured, begins to roll backward. One man fails to get out of the way in time and is horrifically crushed between the trailer and the dock. This fatal incident was entirely preventable. The number one rule when working with trailers is to always secure the vehicle with wheel chocks before any loading or unloading activities begin, to prevent any unintended movement. In a large metal fabrication facility, a group of workers is elevated in a makeshift man basket attached to the forks of a forklift. As the operator maneuvers the unstable setup, the forklift loses its balance and tips over, sending the workers crashing to the ground. This demonstrates a severe misuse of equipment. Forklifts are designed for lifting materials, not people. Only purpose-built aerial work platforms, or man lifts, which provide a stable and secure base, should be used for elevating personnel, ensuring proper training and adherence to weight limits. A forklift operator is unloading a tall, unstable pallet of bottled drinks from the back of a truck. As he backs away, the load begins to tip. The driver makes the fatal mistake of jumping from his cab to try and manually steady the falling pallet. But he is instantly overwhelmed by the weight and crushed beneath it. This is a tragic lesson in instinct versus training. The correct procedure is to let the load fall. No product is worth a human life. Always prioritize personal safety and stay clear of shifting or falling materials. In a stone or woodworking shop, a worker is standing near a series of large, heavy slabs that are stored vertically without proper support. When he attempts to move one, it triggers a domino effect, causing the entire stack to topple over onto him. The immense weight leaves him with no chance of escape. This incident shows a critical failure in material storage. Heavy, unstable items like slabs must be stored in specifically designed A-frame racks that prevent them from tipping and ensure they can be handled safely one at a time. In a busy shipping port at night, a straddle carrier is positioning a container next to a tall stack. The operator misjudges the distance and collides with the stack, destabilizing it completely. A cascade of containers topples over, crashing down onto a nearby yard truck and its driver. This highlights the need for extreme precision and situational awareness in container yards. Operators must manage their speed and maintain safe clearance distances at all times to prevent catastrophic chain reactions. During an unloading operation, a worker stands on a flatbed truck next to a massive, unsecured pipe. As workers on the ground begin to move it, the pipe suddenly rolls off the side of the truck, crushing the man standing in its path. This is a classic line-of-fire accident. When handling heavy, cylindrical objects, workers must never position themselves on the downhill side. Loads must be chocked and secured until a controlled offloading process, guided by machinery, can be initiated safely. Inside a factory, a worker stands directly beneath a large metal sheet being moved by an overhead crane with a clamp-style lift. The clamps suddenly fail, and the heavy sheet drops directly onto the worker. The lesson here is absolute. Never, under any circumstances, stand or work under a suspended load. All lifting operations require a cleared area below, and workers should use taglines from a safe distance to guide the load, eliminating the risk of being in the drop zone. At a residential construction site, a mini excavator is digging a deep trench right alongside the foundation of a concrete wall. Several workers are in the immediate vicinity. The excavation undermines the wall's support, causing it to suddenly collapse into the trench, burying one worker and sending others scrambling. This is a critical failure in excavation safety. Never dig in a way that compromises the structural integrity of nearby buildings or walls. Proper shoring, sloping, and professional assessment are required before beginning any such work. Inside a vast recycling facility, a person is walking through an area with huge piles of plastic waste. An approaching front-end loader, tasked with moving the material, has a significant blind spot. The operator does not see the person and proceeds to push them with a full bucket, burying them under a mountain of refuse. This highlights the critical need for strict separation of pedestrian traffic and heavy machinery in industrial environments. High visibility vests and clear, designated walkways are essential to prevent such tragic accidents. In an incredibly dangerous act, a worker is lowered into a deep, narrow trench while standing in the bucket of an excavator. As he reaches the bottom, the unstable, unshored walls of the trench give way, burying him instantly. This scene shows two fatal errors. First, machinery buckets should never be used to transport personnel. Second, any trench of this depth requires proper shoring or benching to prevent a collapse. This was a completely preventable tragedy caused by ignoring fundamental safety rules. In a factory, a worker enters the safety-fenced area of an automated production line to make an adjustment. Without warning, the robotic stacking machine activates, moving along its track and crushing the worker against a stationary part of the line. This is a deadly failure of lockout, tagout procedures. Before any worker enters a machine's operational space, the equipment must be completely de-energized, locked, and tagged to ensure it cannot be started accidentally. A man is operating a tracked post-hole drilling rig in a grassy field next to a property line. As he drills, the auger strikes a high-pressure underground gas line. A massive explosion of dirt and gas erupts, violently throwing the machine and operator backward. This dangerous event underscores the universal rule: call before you dig. Always have underground utilities professionally marked before any excavation or drilling to prevent life-threatening encounters with gas, electric, or water lines. On a snow-covered street, a front-end loader is clearing snow near parked cars. A pedestrian, walking on the street due to the snow-covered sidewalk, moves into the loader's path. The operator, likely dealing with blind spots, makes a turn and strikes the person, knocking them down. This illustrates the heightened risks in adverse weather. Operators of heavy machinery must exercise extreme caution, while pedestrians should make themselves visible and avoid the operational area of such equipment. In a warehouse, a worker stands in a marked walkway, completely absorbed by his phone. Meanwhile, a tugger train approaches from behind. The driver initiates a turn, causing the trailing carts to swing wide and collide with the distracted worker, knocking him to the ground. This incident is a lesson in mutual responsibility and situational awareness. Pedestrians must always be aware of their surroundings, especially around mobile equipment, and operators must ensure their path is clear before turning. Inside a factory, two workers are performing maintenance within a robotic cell, apparently having bypassed the safety gates. One worker leans over a component just as the large robotic arm activates unexpectedly. The arm swings around and crushes the man's head and upper body against a fixed part of the machinery. This is a horrific example of why bypassing safety interlocks is forbidden. Proper lockout and tagout procedures are the only way to safely service robotic equipment, guaranteeing all energy sources are isolated before entry.